It doesn't begin with burnout. It begins quietly with small sighs you don't notice. You wake up and your first thought isn't about dreams or plans, it's about how long until you can sleep again. You move through your routine almost automatically. The light switch, the phone, the coffee, the mirror. You look fine. You always look fine. But somewhere beneath that practiced calm, something inside you feels hollow, heavy like you're walking underwater. You tell yourself you're just tired. Everyone's tired. You'll catch up this weekend. You'll rest on vacation. You'll feel better once things slow down. But when they finally do, the heaviness stays. That's the first sign that it's not your body that's tired, it's you. Because what you're feeling isn't fatigue. It's emotional exhaustion, the kind of tired that sleep can't fix. It's the ache that comes from holding yourself together for too long. Your body knows how to rest. Your muscles relax when you lie down. Your breathing slows. But your nervous system, it never really stops working. Every small worry, every unspoken feeling, every moment you swallow your truth instead of saying it, your body keeps score. It stores tension in your shoulders, in your jaw, in the tightness behind your ribs. It memorizes every time you had to be calm when you wanted to cry, every time you smiled through discomfort, every time you told someone it's okay when it wasn't. You don't notice it happening because you're good at it. You're practiced at being fine. You're the one who gets things done, who keeps peace, who doesn't crumble. But every bit of energy spent pretending costs something. Every day that you soothe, mediate, comfort, organize, and absorb the moods of everyone around you, you drain a little more from the same hidden well. That's the part no one sees. Emotional labor doesn't leave visible scars. It's not just what you do, it's the management of how you do it. You're not just handling tasks, you're regulating reactions. You're reading faces before words. You're softening your tone so others won't feel threatened. You're translating emotions, managing expectations, protecting people from your own discomfort. And it's not that you resent it, it's that you don't know another way to be. So when someone asks, "Are you okay?" you say yes automatically, because explaining this kind of tired feels impossible. How do you explain that your exhaustion comes from caring too deeply in a world that never seems to return the same effort? How do you say that rest feels unsafe, that stillness makes your thoughts louder? The truth is, you've mistaken constant alertness for responsibility. You think you're being strong by staying composed. But what you're really doing is surviving elegantly, quietly, invisibly. There's a name for this: chronic emotional strain. When your brain is stuck in long-term stress, it never lets your body drop into true rest. It's like a computer that never fully shuts down, always humming in the background, draining power. You lie in bed, and your muscles may rest, but your mind doesn't. It replays conversations. It builds imaginary futures. It worries about people who haven't even asked for help yet. And so, even 8 hours of sleep doesn't touch it. You wake up with the same heaviness, because the rest you need isn't physical, it's emotional permission to stop performing. But you don't know how to stop. You were raised to believe that peace is earned through productivity, that love is maintained through service, that stillness is laziness. So you rest, but you rest guiltily. You lie down, but your mind whispers, "You should be doing something." You take a break, but you feel the pressure of what waits when you return. Even joy feels like work, something you have to schedule, capture, prove. That's why emotional exhaustion feels endless. You can't refill energy that you never truly let go of. And yet, it's hard to admit you're running on empty, because exhaustion has become an identity badge. Everyone's busy, everyone's hustling, everyone's tired. To say you need rest feels indulgent, even shameful. So you wear your fatigue like proof that you're trying hard enough. But inside, you feel detached from life, from others, from yourself. Conversations blur together, tasks lose meaning. The music you used to love sounds like noise. You start fantasizing about escape, not vacations, but vanishing. You picture turning off your phone, leaving everything behind, disappearing into silence. But even that fantasy feels heavy, because deep down, you know you'd bring yourself with you the same restless mind, the same emotional weight. What makes this exhaustion so deceptive is that it often hides behind functionality. You still show up, you still smile, you still work, you're not collapsing, you're performing, and everyone around you praises your resilience. You're amazing. I don't know how you do it. They mean it kindly. But every compliment feels like another chain locking you into the role you're dying to escape. Because the truth is, you're not resilient. You're depleted. And you've mistaken endurance for strength. That's the quiet tragedy of emotional exhaustion. It disguises itself as competence. The better you get at functioning while tired, the longer it takes anyone, including you, to notice how bad it's become. And slowly, the line blurs between fatigue and identity. You stop remembering what it feels like to wake up without dread. You stop believing that energy is natural. You start assuming that numbness is peace. But it's not peace, it's protection. Your body has learned that the safest way to survive is to shut down. So when you sit still and feel nothing, that's not apathy. That's your nervous system saying, "We felt enough." When you stare into space instead of reacting, it's not weakness, it's defense. When you can't find motivation, it's not lack of willpower, it's depletion. Emotional exhaustion is your body begging for honesty, begging for rest that isn't just physical, but psychological rest from pretending, from filtering, from constantly being the strong one. But honesty requires safety, and that's what most exhausted people don't have. If you were raised in chaos, you learned to be the calm one. If you grew up around instability, you became the responsible one. If love was conditional, you learned that being needed was the closest thing to being wanted. So even now, as an adult, your nervous system runs the same program. Stay alert, stay useful, stay good. And every time you follow it, you lose another piece of your vitality. That's why you can go on vacation and still come back tired. Why meditation feels impossible. Why weekends disappear without relief. Because you're not tired from what you're doing. You're tired from who you have to be while doing it. You're tired from holding peace that no one else helps maintain. Tired from absorbing everyone's stress so they won't have to feel it. Tired from being the therapist, the mediator, the fixer. Tired from silencing the part of you that screams, "What about me?" That is the invisible weight. Not the tasks, not the hours. The emotional management of a life lived always in service of stability. And that's the cruelest paradox of all. The people who make others feel safe are often the ones who never feel safe themselves. So when you feel that deep bone-level fatigue, don't call yourself lazy, don't call yourself broken. Call it what it is, the body's final whisper after years of holding the world together. I can't carry this alone anymore. That's where emotional exhaustion begins, not in weakness, but in devotion. Not because you stopped caring, but because you cared too long without refilling the tank. And you can't heal what you won't name. So name it. Name the invisible weight for what it is. Because the moment you stop calling it just tired, you open the door to something your mind has forgotten how to give you: real rest. There comes a point when tired stops feeling like a state and starts feeling like your personality. You wake up and immediately calculate how much energy the day will cost you, every conversation, every decision, every emotion. You start making micro bargains with yourself. If I answer these messages, I can skip the gym. If I call my friend tonight, I'll order takeout so I don't have to cook. You begin managing your life like a battery. You're trying not to drain, except no matter how much you conserve, the charge never refills. That's the thing about emotional exhaustion. It doesn't just live in your mind, it moves into your body. It rewires how you breathe, how you sleep, how you think. You start living in survival rhythm, a tempo designed for danger, not for life. The heart beats faster, even when nothing's wrong. Muscles tighten for a fight that never comes. Your body learns to brace before it breathes. The science behind it is simple and cruel. When you're under emotional strain for too long, your body floods itself with stress hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine. They were never meant to stay for months, let alone years. They were meant to help you escape a threat. But when the threat is invisible, conflict, expectation, loneliness, there's nowhere to run. So the body never shuts off the alarm. It just learns to function with the sirens still blaring quietly underneath. That's why the calm ones often shake inside. Why the productive ones can't sleep. Why even joy feels like work. You might think, I just need more rest. But rest is useless if your nervous system doesn't trust it. Sleep can't help a body that still believes it's unsafe. Vacations don't repair a mind that's waiting for the next disaster. Meditation feels impossible when your thoughts are sprinting to anticipate pain. And so, you start avoiding stillness. You fill every silence with noise, scrolling, planning, analyzing anything to keep the deeper exhaustion from catching up. But silence is patient. It waits for you in the spaces between distraction, whispering what you don't want to hear. You are tired of surviving. Most people mistake this state for discipline. They say, you're so calm. You handle pressure so well. But they don't see that your calm isn't peace, it's shutdown. In trauma psychology, it's called functional freeze, the fourth trauma response no one talks about. It's when your system stays active enough to move, talk, and perform, but emotionally, you've gone numb. You're neither running nor fighting, you're enduring. It's what happens when your body decides that feeling is too expensive. That's why you can smile, laugh, achieve, and still feel disconnected. Because connection requires energy, and you're saving what little you have for survival. Think about how your phone dims when the battery's almost dead. Lower brightness, fewer background processes. That's what your nervous system is doing. Reducing emotional brightness so you can last longer. But the cost is high. Your creativity fades. Your spontaneity dies. You stop reacting to beauty. The sunset becomes just light. Music becomes just sound. Touch becomes just pressure. You're alive, but you're not awake. And the body remembers. It remembers the nights you stayed calm during chaos. The mornings you forced yourself to smile through fatigue. The days you pushed through migraines, heartbreak, grief. It remembers being told, you're so strong. It remembers that strength always meant silence. So now, even in moments of safety, it doesn't exhale. Because safety feels unfamiliar. And unfamiliar feels dangerous. You might notice it in small ways. You finally get a free weekend, but you can't relax. You keep pacing the room, refreshing notifications, feeling uneasy and quiet. You go on vacation, and after 2 days of stillness, anxiety creeps in like your mind doesn't know how to exist without struggle. That's the body trying to detox from hypervigilance. It's not broken, it's adjusting to something it forgot: peace. Emotional exhaustion changes your brain chemistry too. Chronic stress dulls dopamine, the neurotransmitter that helps you feel joy, motivation, curiosity. That's why everything starts to feel flat. It's not that you're ungrateful, it's that your reward system has gone offline. You're not lazy, you're chemically depleted. But here's the hardest part. When exhaustion becomes identity, you stop believing there's another version of you. You start saying things like, I'm just not passionate anymore, or I guess I'm getting older. You call your shutdown maturity. You confuse numbness for acceptance. And in a way, that's logical, because admitting you're exhausted means facing the grief of how long you've been pretending not to be. The body that remembers isn't your enemy. It's your historian. It carries every story you tried to forget. The trembling in your hands, the tension in your jaw, the fatigue behind your eyes, those aren't random symptoms. They're your body's way of saying something inside you still needs to be felt. But you keep powering through, telling yourself you're fine, because that's what responsible people do. You drink the coffee, you push the deadlines, you make the calls. You fix the problems, offer advice, hold space for everyone but yourself. And at night, when you finally lie down, you feel that hollow ache like something's missing but you can't name it. What's missing isn't motivation. It's permission. Permission to stop being the emotional caretaker of the world. Permission to feel the anger you've been repressing. Permission to admit that strength is lonely. The body doesn't want more productivity, it wants peace. But peace feels terrifying to a person who has survived through motion. That's why when you finally get a break, you don't feel rested, you feel restless. You think, why can't I enjoy this? Because enjoyment requires presence, and presence requires safety. And safety isn't a place, it's a nervous system state. You can't think your way into peace. You have to teach your body it's allowed to have it. That begins with slowing down in micro moments, breathing when you want to rush, saying no when your reflex is yes, letting silence last 5 seconds longer than you're comfortable with. At first, your body will panic. It will think you're losing control, but you're not. You're regaining it from the inside out. Because exhaustion is what happens when your body doesn't trust that rest will come. Healing is what happens when you prove that it can. This isn't about quitting everything and disappearing into solitude. It's about retraining your system to understand that peace doesn't mean punishment. That stillness isn't the enemy. That calm doesn't have to feel like danger. It takes time. It takes unlearning. It takes compassion for the version of you that survived by running on fumes. But if you listen closely, even in the deepest exhaustion, your body is whispering the same thing. I'm not weak. I'm tired of pretending I don't need care. And the moment you hear that, really hear it, something inside you softens. The armor cracks, the breath comes back. You realize you've been carrying not just your own emotions, but everyone else's too. That's why you feel so tired. Not because you've done too little, but because you've felt too much without release. The body that remembers is not betraying you. It's trying to return you to yourself. So before you chase more energy, pause. Before you push through another week, pause. Before you call yourself lazy for needing rest again, pause. Ask your body what it's been holding. Ask what it's been trying to protect you from. And then, thank it not for its endurance, but for its honesty. Because that fatigue pulsing through your bones isn't failure. It's your body's way of saying, we've survived long enough. Now let's learn to live. You reach a point where your body stops politely asking you to slow down. It stops whispering. It starts crashing. You forget simple things. You wake up already tired. You stare at the wall longer than you mean to. The smallest task feels like climbing a mountain. You tell yourself you'll rest soon, but soon never comes. And one day you realize you don't even know what rest feels like anymore. You've spent so long trying to hold everything together that slowing down feels unnatural, almost wrong. You've learned how to keep moving even when you're running on fumes. You've smiled when you wanted to cry. You've helped others when you needed help yourself. You've convinced everyone you're fine, even when you're falling apart quietly in your own head. But there's a kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. The kind that comes from pretending you're okay when you're not. From always being the strong one. From giving pieces of yourself to everyone else until there's nothing left for you. And the truth is, you can't rest if you don't feel safe doing it. You can lie down, but your mind doesn't stop. You take a break, but you feel guilty. You scroll through your phone, telling yourself you're relaxing, but deep down you're still on duty, still thinking, still worrying, still preparing. You don't need more hours of sleep. You need to stop carrying things that aren't yours to hold. Maybe it's the guilt. Maybe it's the fear of disappointing people. Maybe it's the belief that if you stop, everything will fall apart. But here's the thing, everything falls apart because you never stop. You were not born to fix everything. You were not built to be unbreakable. You were meant to live, to laugh, to feel, to have moments where nothing is demanded of you. You don't have to earn that. You don't have to deserve it. You just have to stop apologizing for needing it. Rest isn't laziness. It's how you come back to yourself. When you stop, you'll notice something strange. At first, you'll feel worse. You'll feel restless, maybe even sad. Because the moment you slow down, everything you've buried begins to rise. The grief you ignored, the anger you swallowed, the tears you never cried, they were waiting for you to stop moving. And when you finally do, they rush out all at once. That's not breaking down. That's healing. That's what happens when your heart finally catches up to your body. You don't need to fight it. Let it happen. Let the exhaustion speak. Let the tears fall. Let the silence stretch longer than usual. That's where your peace begins, not in doing nothing, but in finally feeling everything. Rest isn't about lying on a beach or sleeping for 12 hours. Rest can be small, quiet things. Sitting by the window with your coffee and no phone. Taking a walk just to breathe, not to count steps. Saying no and not explaining why. Leaving a message unanswered and not feeling guilty about it. Doing something slowly on purpose. Real rest doesn't look perfect. It looks like breathing again. And the people who truly love you, they'll understand. They'll want you to rest. But some won't. Some will miss the version of you that never said no, that was always available, that kept the world spinning for everyone else. Let them miss it. That version of you was surviving. This one is living. You don't owe anyone the version of you that's killing you. You don't owe anyone the constant smile, the instant reply, the endless patience. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself honesty. You owe yourself time to breathe without guilt. Rest isn't selfish. It's sacred. It's what makes you human again. One day, after you've given yourself enough quiet, you'll wake up and realize you don't feel heavy anymore. You won't dread the morning. You won't need a reason to smile. You'll just feel lighter. That's what healing feels like. Not fireworks, not perfection, just lightness returning after years of carrying too much. And you'll understand that rest was never the reward for working hard. It was the thing that was missing all along. It was the thing that makes everything else make sense. You're not tired because you're weak. You're tired because you've been strong for too long without a place to put it down. So put it down now. Even if no one else tells you it's okay. Even if the world keeps spinning without you. Even if your to-do list keeps calling your name. Close your eyes. Take one full breath and let yourself rest. Not because you've earned it, but because you always deserve to.